Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Burner here along with Pete.
Yo!
And today, guys, of course, we got to talk about the NBA draft. It just happened, the first round. And before we get started talking about that, go and check out our awesome videos that we have out there. We have Peter's video talking about Kyrie to the Knicks. Could it happen? Knicks fans, let us know in the comments down below. But right now, we got to talk about the NBA draft, which I just said. Peter, let's go over the picks real quick, 1 through 10, and then we'll go on and continue.
Let's do it.
So the number 1 pick is, of course, DeAndre Ayton to the Suns. Number 2 is Marvin Bagley III to the Kings. Hawks got Luka Doncic, but they traded that pick to the Mavericks, who instead are going to get Trae Young for the culture, the Migos.
The culture.
Number 4, the Grizzlies got Jaren Jackson. Number 6, Mo Bamba. Number 7, Wendell Carter Jr. to the Bulls. 8, Colin Sexton to the Cavs. 9, the Knicks got Kevin Knox. And number 10, they got Mikal Bridges or Michael Bridges, however you want to pronounce it. Please don't kill me in the comments. But they traded that pick to get Zaire Smith.
Yes.
Now, Peter, let's start with the number 1 pick. Talking about DeAndre Ayton to the Suns. Rank that grade, and what do you think this pick will do for them in the future?
I mean, it's clearly an A because this guy was, other than Luka, the clear 1-2, right? I do still believe that Luka is the best player in this draft. I think he's going to be generational talent. I'm saying it here, you heard me. But I can't fault the Suns for picking DeAndre Ayton. He's a hometown boy, solid player, physical specimen. He's a beast. And he's going to fit perfectly in with that young core they have going on in Phoenix with Devin Booker, Josh Jackson, got Marquise Chris, who still has to show some improvement, but you also got TJ Warren and Dragan Bender. That squad is going to be very, very good for, give him a couple of years, and that's going to be a contending team if DeAndre Ayton pans out, which he should. What do you think?
I think with DeAndre Ayton, like you said, it's one of those picks that's kind of obvious. It was obvious since they got the first pick in the lottery. They've been scouting him. They've been reporting about it. They've been talking about him. So I think DeAndre Ayton to the Suns is a great pickup for them. Obviously, I like Luka Doncic as well, but I think DeAndre Ayton fits their team so much better in what they need. It's just a big man because they failed on Alex Len. Tyson Chandler's on his last leg. So having a guy like DeAndre Ayton could eventually improve their team to a place where they have their big men, they have their shooter in Devin Booker and scorer, they have their defender in Josh Jackson.
Yeah, and scorer, to be fair. He's solid.
And TJ Warren, who's a great kind of role player on that team. So I think, like you said, in a couple years, they'll be able to be right up there with some of the teams that are kind of growing up as we speak.
Definitely, yeah. But that one's kind of a given. So let's move on to the Kings. And this is personally where I get to the point where I think everybody who didn't get Luka Doncic failed a little bit. They should have taken Luka, but they got Marvin Bagley III. I'm not mad at this pick. In my opinion, he was the third guy I would have taken.
Right.
He's number 3 for me. I know you're probably not there for him. But I think he's going to be like DeMarcus Cousins 2.0 in this team. Not like comparison-wise, but he's just going to be a very good player on a not-so-good team. And he's going to put up big numbers for them. Like people have said this all the time. Like, he's going to be a 20-10 guy probably in his first year. I wouldn't be shocked. And he might win Rookie of the Year, honestly, just based on how many points he's going to be able to put up.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'd probably give them, I want to give them a B just because they didn't take Doncic, so I'll give them a B. It's still not a bad pick, though.
Yeah, to me, the Marvin Bagley, the third pick, I am comparing him a little bit to Jahlil Okafor in terms of how he will pan out in the NBA. Obviously, he's more athletic than him. He's a better scorer, better leaper. But I just think drafting Luka Doncic, who I've made countless videos on, and just talking about how the Kings had a chance. They were my biggest winners after the draft lottery. And now they just become the biggest losers, I think, because he's a good pick, but it's too safe of a pick. I think the front office is really scared for their job right now, and I think taking a guy like Mo Bamba, who I actually wouldn't mind them taking here because it would have been a lot better because he plays both defense and he's improving offensively.
Yeah.
I just think having also De'Aaron Fox and Bogdan Bogdanovic as your core guys, along with a guy like Luka Doncic or even Mo Bamba if you wanted to have him, I just think it would have been a better team. But of course, Marvin Bagley was the pick here. I would have to give him, if I had to give him a grade, I'd probably give him like a B.
Yeah. It's kind of there, right? It's good, but it's not it could have been better.
Yeah.
It could have been better. I kind of agree. Even Bamba, I don't think he's necessarily, I think Bagley's a safer pick than Bamba.
Yeah.
But I do think Bamba just has more upside.
Yeah.
He
Either
might
that
have
or
he might have the most upside of any of the bigs.
or even Jaren Jackson. I would have taken a chance on him,
I
but
would have taken Bagley over Jackson personally. But we'll get into Jackson in a second. Number 3, the Hawks. This is where we get into big loser territory for me.
I'm on the same boat.
They picked Luka Doncic. There was rumors from yesterday that they were going to trade that pick to the Mavericks, Dallas that is, for Trae Young, who Dallas ended up taking. So the Hawks walk away with a future first and Trae Young at the 3rd pick. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. You had a chance to take the best player in the draft, and you didn't do it.
Yeah, like we talked about Luka Doncic, and we both have said it countless times. Right. Luka Doncic to me is one of those guys that translates a hell of a lot better than any of these guys that are being drafted from the United States. With Luka Doncic, he's a guy that's played 79 games internationally, so his season is more comparable to those guys in the actual NBA than these guys who play 32 games maybe.
Yeah.
So from that comparison, I think Luka Doncic is the most NBA-ready guy. Even though his floor is high, I still think his ceiling is even higher to a point where I think he could be a very good superstar. And we'll talk about the Mavericks when we get to them. But Trae Young is the pick here. Obviously, they listened to the Migos. They said on the Twitter line that they said Trae Young was for the culture.
I think Quavo made this pick.
Quavo did make I think Quavo is the new GM for the Hawks.
They gave the pick to Quavius Maximus. They let him do it for the team. So, hey.
Yeah, and also just going about that, we talked about a little bit earlier with their next pick, which was 16. We'll get to that a little bit later. My friend texted me this, Josh. He said, we're going to be called the Meme Bros. We're not going to be called the Splash Bros. Because we all know that the GM has come from the Warriors front office, and he wants to kind of create the Warriors 2.0 in Atlanta.
Yep, Travis Schlenk, he's just trying to take the prototype of the Warriors and make the Eastern Conference wannabe version. So we'll see how it works. I will say this. I think the Hawks, this is a very high risk situation, but it could end up working, Trae Young could be incredible. He could be the next Steph Curry, but I think the risk is too great.
I just think the pieces around that team right now, especially because you're going to get rid of Dennis Schroeder. There's some expiring contracts here and there. I just think this was just a pick for now. And then as soon as they continue to build through the draft, because I don't think they're going to be good next year either, they're going to continue to build. And hopefully, by year 2, year 3, they get their 3 guys that they like and then eventually build their Warriors type of team.
Yeah, they're going to be like total Tanksville next year too. I wouldn't be shocked. Number 4. The Memphis Grizzlies they picked Jaren Jackson Jr. What do you think about the pick, Bernie?
Jaren Jackson Jr., to me, I talked about this. I would rather have Mo Bamba than him. I think Jaren Jackson's one of those guys that is your typical big man 3-and-D.
Yeah.
If there is a position for them to have a 3-and-D for the center position. Jaren Jackson is a guy that I think if he can translate well, he'll be fine. But to me, I would rather get Mo Bamba. And I think him and Marvin Bagley are going to be the guys that we look back and say they probably should have taken Mo Bamba.
Yeah, I agree. See, this pick reeks of if we're going to go by comp perspective to this, which I don't necessarily like, but let's do it anyway. Jaren Jackson's best comp, if he's going to be totally up to his potential, is Al Horford, right? Somewhere in that range of player. Whereas Mo Bamba, if he lives up to his potential, is kind of like a Joel Embiid type player, right? But we don't know anything. It's not health comparisons, but we're just saying the style of play could look like Joel Embiid. I think it's hard to say you'd take an Al Horford style player over a Joel Embiid, especially in the league we played today. So I think it's a mistake, but I think Memphis just wants to win now. So they're going to take a guy who's proven to be good on defense, who's going to make instant impact defensively on the squad. And Mo Bamba might not be good for his first couple years. We'll see how that goes. I just think it's a short-term risk or a short-term project versus long-term kind of thing. And they just wanted to get good soon.
Again, having them pick Jaren Jackson for the short term is kind of baffling to me, because if we look at the guys that they have Michael Conley or Mike Conley.
The guy.
They have Marc Gasol, who I think is still giving you something, but at the same time, these guys are older guys.
Yeah.
I think Jaren Jackson, a couple years, I just think you're gonna regret it, and you're just gonna look at, wow, we should have gotten Mo Bamba. Even though they have Marc Gasol, they should have traded him earlier in the season and have gone to a full rebuild with Bickerstaff and see if they could have gotten something in the future, because you could have had Mo Bamba as one of your pieces, and then in the next year's draft, whether you're bad, you could get some of the guys that are talked about there. So I just think it's a little bit.
Hey, same thing goes for this team. They could have just made the same trade the Mavericks did and gotten Luka Doncic at 4 too.
Yeah.
Like, they could have. That would have been a better pick too. So hey, the Luka Doncic slander continues. We move on to pick number 5, the Dallas Mavericks. The best pick in the draft so far. They got Luka Doncic at the number 5 spot, which I find really crazy. Like, you get the best player at number 5 is pretty crazy. They gave up a protected first rounder next year. I don't know what the projections on there are though. I don't think it's out yet.
Probably top 10, I'm assuming.
Somewhere probably in there, but they got Luka. That's all I have to say for this pick. This is an A+ to me.
Yeah, the Luka Doncic pick here is one of those things where you're kind of passing the torch of international players. So we have Dirk Nowitzki, who are now passing it to Luka Doncic. And I think we made a video about this earlier, talking about how the Mavs could get Luka Doncic. And I think I had the thumbnail of Mark Cuban kind of corralling with a lasso to Luka Doncic Photoshop. But I think what we talked about in that video is that Luka Doncic could be kind of one of those fits, especially since he is more of a point guard or a guard type of guy. He can help Dennis Smith Jr., who's more of an attacker or scorer. Kind of reminds me of, just if we're doing comps, even though, like you said, it's not really, I don't really like it as well. Just like a young Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
Just very athletic, very explosive. One of those guys, smaller guys, but having a guy like Luka Doncic who could also take some of the pressure off of him handling the rock.
Certainly.
You can definitely build this team around those two guys, and maybe next year or 2019-2020 free agency class, bring someone in and eventually build your super team. Even though right now the Mavericks have a little bit of front office issues in terms of the sexual harassment scandal and all that stuff with Mark Cuban. Yeah. If they are able to clear that stuff up and get it kind of situated, this could be a potential landing spot for the Mavericks to again contend for a title like they did in 2011.
Definitely, yeah. And I, like you said, the fact that Dirk is going to be there one more year is perfect for Luka. And I think just the fit alongside what's his name? I just forgot his name all of a sudden. Dennis Smith Jr. You put those two guys together, you have your premier scorer, premier passer. It's kind of a match made in heaven as far as guards in our league today. You know, love it. Number 6, the Magic, with another A+ in my opinion. Luckily, this is a lucky A+. They got Mo Bamba. The guy probably shouldn't have dropped this far. He did. They got him. So it's kind of sad to end up in Orlando. I made this comment to you while we were watching the draft. It's a little sad to end up in a city like Orlando. It's not the most fun place to be besides Disney, Universal Studios. But hey, Mo Bamba, he's going to be good.
Yeah, that's the reason why I just think the fit for them right now is a little bit puzzling, even though because they don't have a point guard right now, and I thought maybe they would try and trade down, try and get Colin Sexton, trade with the Cavaliers, see if they wanted to get up there. But like you said, Mo Bamba is a guy that has a 7'10" wingspan, almost 8 foot. He's a very good defensive player right now, comparable to a young Rudy Gobert, even though, it's a little too early for that. But his offensive game is really improving. And then, like we talked about probably off camera, is that he could potentially be someone like a Joel Embiid without the injury history. So if we can get Mo Bamba to get a team around him with comparable draft picks for next year, if Aaron Gordon can also improve as well, shoot a little bit more threes, I think this team could be a lot better in the next, 5-7 years, but it's going to be a long rebuild. And like we do in our series Fixer Upper, it's going to be one of those houses that are kind of run down and broken, and they just got great land, and that's Mo Bamba. Yeah,
the one thing I do worry about Bamba in Orlando is he's a very developmental player. He's going to need a lot of work. And that is not the right place to go. Orlando is not only a place that's not known for developing talent, but they don't have a lot of people on the team to help him get better. Yeah. Even Aaron Gordon is a good player, but he's not going to make Mo Bamba better, right? They don't have anybody like that. which I do worry about a little bit.
Because he is a front court guy, which kind of sucks because those two guys are probably going to be playing down low. Aaron Gordon right now doesn't really have a shot. Mo Bamba is probably the better shooter out of the two right now, and without really having a compatible backcourt, that's going to be a little bit tough for Mo Bamba. But if he, as the 76ers, as we like to quote them, if they can trust the process,
they're probably going to be good. And I don't like talking about the character things a lot.
Yeah.
But Mo Bamba just seems like a nice guy. He just seems like a good dude.
Hard worker, good work ethics. I mean, as a coach, it's one of those kind of cheesy things, but when you kind of scout talent and you see guys for tryouts, you kind of see those guys, and Mo Bamba has those qualities. As a coach, you're very interested in wanting that guy on your team.
Just a good workplace type character, Number 7 is Chicago Bulls. They ended up getting Wendell Carter Jr. This is another really solid pickup in my opinion.
I love this pick. It's
really good fit for a young team. He can go aside Lauri Markkanen. He can go upside, Chris Dunn. You also got Zach LaVine. This is going to be a really good team, I think, in another couple of years. It's all about the developmental. We're still in the lottery. Other than the Cavaliers, which might end up being a developmental team soon, depending on where LeBron goes, all of these teams are going to be bad next year, really, right? So the Bulls get a guy in Wendell Carter Jr. who's really going to be a solid defensive player. He can score down low, too, and, it's all about fit with a lot of these players. And I think for the most part, these guys got put in really good situations.
Yeah.
Wendell Carter especially.
Yeah, talking about Wendell Carter, he's a guy that I think is a great fit for the Chicago Bulls. Like you said, playing with Lauri Markkanen, who can help them a lot, is awesome. I believe that could really be a standout on their team, especially, easy dunks and layups from Lauri Markkanen getting double teamed at some points because of his extended shooting. He can be camping in the inside. And I really think I like him, Wendell Carter Jr., over Marvin Bagley. Wow. And I think I saw a little bit more potential in Wendell Carter.
Kevin O'Connor coming at you.
He probably will come after me, but he's a very smart and talented dude. He was going to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
And I just think him pairing up with those guys, getting a Zach LaVine, getting a Chris Dunn on your team, potentially, I think there was another pick that they had as well. Great, solid pickup. I like it.
Hey, there's not much to be said. I'm going to give them an A for that one, just based on the 7th pick. They didn't want to necessarily be that high in the draft, or that low in the draft, I should say. They got a good, solid center position they needed to fill. Cavaliers, Bernie, this is a big, hot topic of discussion. They had the number 8 pick from the Brooklyn Nets. They ended up going with Colin Sexton, somebody I've talked a lot about on this channel, somebody I like a lot. I like this pick. I think there's players I would rather have seen them take, but it's a good pick. With or without LeBron, I think without LeBron, this is a better pick. But it's really solid on a team that has no point guards and really just no solid guards at all. Colin Sexton is kind of a culture-changing, position-changing player where he's going to work hard and he's going to be very good on defense to start. That's what the Cavaliers need.
I just think this was a safe pick. To me, I think the Cavaliers could have gone a little riskier, I believe. I think there was a couple guys out there that was really still on the board. You had Michael Porter Jr., who...
That's who they should have taken.
They should have just taken him because whether LeBron James comes or not, he's a big guy that can score. He's a guy that can also, on the fast break, he was really good at Nathan Hale when he was playing there in high school.
Solid.
Michael Porter Jr. would have been my pick. I understand that Dan Gilbert went to the Colin Sexton Trae Young game that was early in the season. He went to the workouts. He loved Colin Sexton's game. And I think to Dan Gilbert wants, he just wants that flashiness, the quick guy to score the buckets. But like I said, I think it was too safe for me, and I'm going to have to go with a B.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a B plus just because I like Colin Sexton so much. But really the pick they should have made was Michael Porter Jr. Because then regardless if LeBron stays or not, you have star power for at least his first year. But if LeBron stays, it's the perfect mentoring type situation. Freak athlete, really big dude, plays similar position. But they got a solid player anyway. Giving him a B+. Colin Sexton. Number 9, my beloved New York Knicks select Kevin Knox. Excuse me. If you've been watching the channel, listening to some of my Knicks videos, Kevin Knox is the guy that I wanted, other than Michael Porter Jr. Kevin Knox is the guy I wanted. I didn't think Michael Porter Jr. was going to be available if we were to take Kevin Knox. That is why I wanted Kevin Knox. But Michael Porter Jr. was available. I was hoping we were going to take him, but I appreciate and I understand why they took Kevin Knox, and I'm still happy with it. The guy is athletically a freak. He's huge wingspan, really tall, and he's going to develop into a really solid player. He can already shoot. And the thing that I like about this pick so much is this guy can score. Like, he can just score from wherever on the court. And if you watch some of his tape, he does these moves where it looks so simple, but then he still ends up right near the basket and he makes an easy layup. And it's just like, this kid's 18. You know, he's the youngest player in this draft, which I also love. So now you put him, Frank Ntilikina, who just turned 19, and Kristaps Porzingis, the god, is only 22. Like, it's a solid young core, and if you can lock Porzingis up after this season or during this season, it's a perfect fit for a team that's going to be good in 4 or 5 years. You know, like really good in 4 or 5 years. I love this pick. Kevin Knox, A+ for me.
So talking about Kevin Knox, I think he has a very good upside. I know you weren't very high on him at the beginning when we did the mock drafting and all that stuff.
Yeah, right. I changed a lot on Kevin Knox. I really did.
But I just think that Michael Porter Jr. probably should have been the move here. I understand the medical thing is a really big issue, and it just hasn't been a really big issue for a lot of teams. They just weren't able to get some of the medicals that some of the other players or just teams wanted. I just think they should be able to share that information with everybody instead of having each individual doctor kind of do the medical evaluation. Just have the NBA doctors do it if you have just like one trusted doctor, because I think with this and what you're doing, it just kind of looks a little shady, and we'll talk about that with the 14th pick coming up.
Yeah.
But I just think when you do that, you just look shady. But Kevin Knox, not a bad pick. I like him as well. I think he's a guy that could really develop. I know a lot of New York Knicks fans were booing him in the in the NBA draft in Brooklyn, but maybe that's just because it was Brooklyn. But
I doubt it. They're probably just idiots.
I just think New York Knicks fans, you have to enjoy the Kevin Knox experiment. I think this team is rearing to go in a couple years. You just have to, I hate to keep quoting them, but you got to just trust the process with them.
Hey, I saw a really funny tweet too. I mean, I don't remember who posted this, but I'm stealing it. And it was a clip of all those Knicks fans booing, and it was like, you want to know how Kevin Knox is going to be a great Knicks player or a future Knicks All-Star? And it was just a clip of those fans booing. Because the Knicks fans who go to the draft every year, they're never right. If they boo, usually going to end up being a decent pick, right? So I like Kevin Knox as a really good pick. Let's move on to number 10, 76ers. This one was a little interesting. They took Mikal Bridges, who was the perfect fit for me, but we can't talk about him because he got traded to the Phoenix Suns for Zaire Smith. What do you think, Bernie?
This is just terrible, dude. The 76ers, one thing that they need is shooting.
Yeah.
And they traded away the 3-and-D guy to get a guy that's just an athletic scorer. I just think with the way that the 76ers, if they want to get LeBron, the perfect way to get him is put shooters around him, along with, Ben Simmons improving. I mean, you can't expect him to improve that much, just a whole summer to improve. I just think I'm just disappointed in this because they had the guy, he was right there, and then they said, you know what, we like the more athletic guy better. I just think that to me is just so dumb. Mikal Bridges or Michael Bridges, whatever you want to say, he was the guy.
Yeah.
And the 76ers, even Brian Colangelo, we talked about him before. Brian Colangelo was the one supposedly making the move for getting Markelle Fultz to them, because I think a lot of teams wanted, or the rest of the guys wanted to get Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
This just feels like a Brian Colangelo kind of trade. Just absolutely nonsensical.
He's tweeting
garbage.
Right now. Yeah, this is my first C. I might even give this a D, honestly.
This is my F.
I think this is a pretty terrible pick because they made the perfect pick first, and everybody knew it was the perfect pick, and then you trade the perfect pick for a guy that really doesn't fit with your team at all, and there's no reason to take him.
Yeah. This is just a swerve, just to have a swerve.
I'm just curious what their plan even is for Zaire Smith. Like, what do they even want to do with him? I can't even imagine what his role on the team would be.
Yeah, because right now the 76ers are in a position where they should be fighting for a conference final and potentially an NBA final. Yeah. But with this pick, it just feels like they're going back a little bit. Mikal Bridges was the perfect age. He's a little bit older, more experienced, a guy that can...
Winner.
A guy that can just lock down and play solid defense if you need him to, but also hit the three-pointer. Probably a better version of Robert Covington.
Yeah.
But instead of having the perfect guy there, they just decided to trade for Zaire Smith and just go one step back to not even getting a LeBron or having even contend in the conference finals.
This pick just reeks of a team that doesn't have a general manager. You know? They just like made a pick and then traded it. They might
have just been the Brian Colangelo list, and they were just like, all right, who did Brian Colangelo have? And there's like, oh, we'll just take him.
We'll take Zaire Smith. We're gonna trade for him. Yeah, that's a D for me. I'm gonna go down to a D. You're sticking with your F.
I'm sticking with the F because that to me they are a contending team wanting to win a championship. They had their guy, and they blew it.
I'm gonna give it a D just because Zaire Smith could end up being really good. And if they were to like trade away Markelle Fultz or Robert Covington or whatever, then you do have Zaire Smith, right? But it's a D. It doesn't fit your squad. Whatever.
Stu, live,